All righty, all righty. Folks are going to continue to come in. Welcome, everyone. If I could ask Pastor Ann Cole, hello, Facebook. If I could ask you, Pastor Ann Cole, to bring us in, we can get this week's show. Welcome, everyone.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for our health and strength. Lord, we thank you for the union coming back to Palms Up. Lord, we ask you to clear our hearts, our minds, and our spirit as we get ready to go into our programming. Lord, and whatever anyone stands in the need of, if it's your will, Lord, let it be done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, palms up to everybody. How's everybody doing?
Right.
It is so wonderful to be back. I'm going to apologize up front because you know I'm a little rusty jumping back into the saddle, but I'm so excited to be back before you all, as well as our Facebook audience and everyone else that's tuning in. Guys, I tell you, I am a blessed woman, a humble woman, and I'm so excited to finally have this day come. There are so many thank yous that I want to give. There's so much conversation I want to bring forward, and I figured that many of us are winding down from the work week because of the holiday that's upon us. So I thought, what would be a great opportunity other than to come before you get ready to do all of your cooking and traveling and things and winding down from your regular work weeks, to just take some time to say thank you. Thank you to my beautiful base and my beautiful community of supporters out there. We're going to talk about so much over the next hour and a half. I'm asking you all to please get someone on the line. Guys, we've got to do more of this, coming back and digressing and talking about the road ahead. I've got some beautiful thank yous, as I mentioned, that I want to share. But most importantly, if you guys would just, those of you on the line, stop and just give yourselves a round of applause. You guys are just so wonderful. I just want to put my arms around each and every one of you all. All of you guys play pivotal roles in my run as for the mayor of Washington, D.C. For many of you out there watching that isn't familiar with why tonight's episode is so exciting, I am Dr. Rondell Hamilton. I'm a mental health advocate. I'm a housing advocate in the nation's capital and the DMV area. But most importantly, I just completed a run to be the mayor of Washington, D.C. And that was such an experience. We engaged so many individuals, and it was so important for me to come back and be able to bring a message of empowerment, because one, we met so many people on the trail. IMDC, myself, Bishop Gray, Overseer Coles, Tasha and Travis, my media folk in the background, Pastor and First Wife Yasmin on the line, and my beautiful Denise, who's just been making sure that the word and the message get out every time it dropped. And last but certainly not least, my beautiful Aunt Cynthia Robinson, who is pulling in the rear with all of her support and helping us on the telephones. Guys, we're going to talk about a lot over the next hour and a half, because I want you guys to know that it takes a team. It takes a team to be able to do what we did. And so by all means, we have victory. We claim victory. And I want you all to know what the road ahead looks like. But there are just so many conversations and so many beautiful reflections that I almost didn't make it back to the forefront. And first and foremost, before I forget, palms up out there. How's everybody doing? It's going to take a minute to get palms up back. But one thing for sure and two things for certain, we are stronger for it. Hey, Pastor Coles, before I go any further, I want to recognize you and Bishop Gray for all of your unwavering and unconditional efforts. And then I want to throw it over to Perry Red. And then I want to bring in some of my out-of-town folks on the line. Hey, D, I see you. Guys, so much love came through the feed and through the line that I want to build on it, right? We started this, the Instagram account, accounts weren't strong, didn't have a presence on Twitter, and now my phones are buzzing day and night. So there is no way we don't take all of that positive energy and package it, because I mean, you know, once we get all of this wonderful good feeling and these thank yous out of the way, we got work still to do. You guys see the headlines. And rest in peace to our beautiful, beautiful, we just lost the queen, 18-year-old in the hotel over the weekend, and the stories and the headlines just keep coming. And so one of the things that this election helped us to understand is that nobody seemingly likes the headlines or the positioning of where DC is. And so while someone must win and someone's going to lose, we as a people must always remember that democracy is always supposed to be government of the people, by the people, for the people. So one of the things that I wanted to make certain we accomplished tonight was, one, we showed a unity of who we are as people on different levels of our living, but all tied to the same common goal of human decency, of making sure that that economic gap of $29 for the Black man and $92 for the white man is attacked, regardless of who's in that office, of understanding that we don't have to wait until the election time to educate our people about the reality of taking control and charge of their own life conditions. So I want to make sure that I stay true to the promise and the commitment that I physically gave to each and every Washingtonian who listened to me, listened to my message, entrusted me with their message, and trusted that I was a representative of what they wanted to see in their nation's capital. And while we have to go forward, unified in the understanding that all DC citizens deserve a higher standard of living, we must now become the representation of the accountability piece, the oversight leg of things, because the leadership didn't change. And regardless of what your analyzation of why that is, regardless of what your theory is for why we did not see any seats change, we still have the responsibility as members of the general public to make certain that we continue to call on accountable and transparent governing so that we can help elevate the life conditions of our fellow citizens. We also must realize that not all DC citizens have the same concerns. If one thing this election has shown me is that my families on one side of the city that are living in survival mode don't have the same priorities as my family on the other side of the city, who was not living with those types of realities. But nonetheless, we have to learn to come together to be one DC. And when people inherit power and misuse it and keep us or pit us against one another, overlook issues of a humanistic nature and allow you to believe that your voices don't matter, we become divided. All over this great city, all I kept hearing, the first question, well, is she from DC? What became relevant and clear was that you all, DC citizens, want local representation. There's a fear that if we don't have local representations, they won't understand the issues that are plaguing our city. And while I am a mental health advocate, as I've had the pleasure of working with all of my beautiful leaders over the course of the last 5 years on matters affecting our DC citizens of a civil nature, and I say civil because I'll keep saying it. We have a slumlord problem in this city that this election did not help to address. And so we've got to go forward understanding that the work still must continue. What we've got to do is have strategies that are effective and that will hold us all accountable to the mission. So without any further ado, what I want to do, I've got a lot that I want to talk about, but you've heard from me over the last 3 and 4 months. You were so gracious to share the post, to come forward, to call for change. I dare not let you down because I heard you. And government of the people, by the people, will be for the people. We will see to that. Hey, Pastor Coles, will you come forward? Will you share a reflective moment? I want to go around and hear from each of you all. We've got time for everyone to speak. Please share any reflection that you have from the campaign trail, because you know we don't like politics, sis. You know, come on with it.
I found it very interesting because now what I do, I'm all over the city now. And it was very interesting in Ward 1, which is supposed to be the prim of the prim people, to discover that there were a lot dealing with housing issues too, the slumlord. A lot of them complain about our health coverage and the lack of. Matter of fact, a couple of clients that I had some serious illnesses and were complaining how every time they go to the doctor that it was a different doctor. And then I had the opportunity to actually talk to some medical providers that said how DC government has changed so much of how they pay benefits and stuff that they don't want to stick with the Medicaid program for the District of Columbia because it doesn't want to pay anything and it's not enough for them to sustain their practice. So that's one reason why DC's health system is like it is. But I also discovered that it's not just DC, it's around the country, period.
It is, and stay right there. I'm gonna stop because I want us to have different bits and pieces. Now, you were in Ward 1, and there were conversations about the reality of the concerns of the healthcare. And the whole purpose of tonight was to educate us, to let us walk away from this platform feeling more empowered because we still have issues at hand as a city. We've got to figure out how to come together to address them and to make certain we're holding one another accountable. And the only way to do that is to be willing to understand the issues across the city. And one of the most valuable lessons I've received in my campaigning was being able to know that you've got to have an ear for the citizens in 1, an ear for the citizens in 8, 6, 7, 5, 4, 3, and 2, respective of what they care about. Thanks for sharing that, Ann. And if we're not willing to go out across the city and forge these relationships, then how can we truthfully call ourselves leaders or representatives of what the community wants? Come on, Bishop Gray, come forward. We're now going around to everyone and we're pulling reflective moments from the campaign. Because you know, as a people, we always say we don't like politics, and Washingtonians as a whole, we're not engaged. I don't care what those final numbers represent. Those of us on the ground, we know what it is. We still got a large percentage of Washingtonians that just don't care for the politics. And I'm hoping that with our run and with this campaign follow-up and engagement, that we'll all find our place in our space and know that we must stay at the table. So come on, Bishop Gray, you got any reflections from the campaign that you can share?
You know, so many. And one of the things I've adopted over this campaign was the words more grace, more grace, more grace. You know, I found that, you know, we're in a time where we need more grace for what's in our city right now. There's a lot of trouble. There's a lot of headaches. There's a lot of worry, a lot of stress. And the people are stressing and worrying and really don't have an outlet in what they have. Already in the position, and they were searching for some new outlets, and unfortunately we didn't get that. We didn't get the results that we needed. We got what was staged and put in play. You know what I'm saying? So some of my reflections over this time was seeing some people come out of the backgrounds of Marbury and the backgrounds of neighborhoods all throughout the city, not just in Ward 8, not just in Ward 7, but all throughout the city. And they was really crying out. We went down to Pennsylvania Avenue, and I was really stunned, shocked, and amazed by some of the people that participated in speaking to that building, the Wilson building. I'm telling you, we're just at a place where more grace, more grace, more grace is needed in our city at this time. I'm gonna reserve a lot of my thoughts right now, but I tell you, we're just at that place where we still need to be pushing forward politics in a way, or our hands in ways that our heart see what our city for to be about. You know, regardless of who's in office, we still got to aid our city, you know, in the positions that we're in. And this is all about moving forward, aiding our people. And thank you, Rhonda, for your excellent leadership in running and taking that mantle. A lot of people don't know this, but it was a request. It was an asked question, and you came in and you abided where your heart puts you, and you ran. And, you know, and we're glad that you did. And so, you know, more grace, more grace, more grace. Thank you so much to all of you all that I got to meet through all this time, and we just got great work coming ahead of us, and stay connected, better together.
Thank you, Dre. Hey, Denise, will you unmute? Any reflection that you have from the forefront, any conversation, anything that comes to mind, will you please share?
First, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to work with you on this campaign. It was my pleasure. I really didn't get a chance to speak to anyone basically about too much. A lot of people was just glad that you were running for mayor this year. It was just a thing that they were just ready for change.
And I
They
think
they were just ready for the change. That's
it's
just
simple
basically
as
it.
that. And I'm so glad
Yeah.
that you came on, because you represent those voices in the background that just don't necessarily show up with an agenda. You just want to be a part of helping to get the word out, and making sure that I knew that you guys were out there. And you were so important to me, because I'm telling you, in these political climates, there's so much ugliness going on in the background. And I'll share some of that with you guys, but I don't want to overshadow our moment. So I just needed you to know, thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it takes all of us. It takes all of us. And there are many nights that I would see your post, or see that you shared a post, or you share a kind word, and it would just make my heart smile, because it's so easy to give up, right? But you can't let
Right.
your foot down. And so I thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
Will you come and unmute and share your reflections? You've been in the background educating our children and getting us ready for transition from COVID back to the in-school environment. But nonetheless, you've been in the background blessing the campaign, and even jumped on the phones to help out a little bit. You want to share any reflective memory that you have, Cynthia? You got to unmute, looks like. Yeah, they say we don't like politics, and I want to change that, because we've got to be involved. It's not okay to wait till, you know, the season rolls around to decide that we're going to try to get all of these folks educated about things that are just so overwhelming. So I want us to change our posture about how we approach this. Hi, Cynthia, you want to speak up?
Yes, give me a second. Can you hear me?
Yep, hear you just fine.
Okay. Can you see me?
Yep, see you just
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Well, you know what? Working in the scene, working in the background, I'm a background worker and stuff, but it was a lot going on, even making phone calls. But truly, first and foremost, I was truly honored. I was honored to stand behind you, to do whatever it was that I possibly could do to help you go forward. Because I know that truly, I think you had a calling. And I'm honored and grateful to even see how you have gone forth. You took on a challenge, it was a big challenge, but you stood it and you looked it right in the face and said, I'm not afraid. I'm moving forward.
Amen.
So I'm honored, and I'm very proud of you for taking that stand, because everybody would not have taken that.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
you know, my prayers and blessings are always with you and behind you. Making phone calls, even though there was a lot of calls that we did make. Some of the calls that I was impressed with was, you know, what's the number? You know, give me the information and let me make the call. You understand?
Amen.
Could not have done it right now, but they said, give me that information, and they waited as I gave the information for them to make calls later.
Yeah.
But they were interested. There were some that were interested.
Yes.
So
That
I
was,
believe that everything we did was in vain.
yeah.
Nothing for God is in vain.
No, and that's what's so important about our next steps. There were, you touched on it. There were so many people who just wanted to understand. And if there's anything we lost, it was time reaching folks. And so that's what the beauty of going forward is, because we know that there is a need and we know that we have responsibility. So I thank you for that. I am honored that you stepped up with all that you had going on to support. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Welcome.
Hey,
Yes.
let's keep this going, guys. I see Mr. Giuseppe Niosi has joined us. Welcome, sir. I wanted to definitely take the time to point Mr. Niosi out, because Mr. Niosi is a former candidate, at-large candidate, and I'm so thankful that he stopped by the platform, because I want him to share some perspective. This is about growth. We don't do anything not to grow. We all care about our great city. And tonight is about challenging yesterday's perception of what this politic thing is about. We've got some people with some real problems in our cities, and some of them are still waiting to understand what that looks like for them. And so the accountability and the transparency is still an issue. So Mr. Niosi, I'm making my way your way, but I wanted to take a minute and acknowledge you and thank you, sir, for stopping by the platform.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the invite. As you know, as a fellow candidate, the entire year, it's a lot of hours that you're putting in. And I think that no matter what kind of, when you're getting into it, you learn so much just because you actually talk to people. And I do think that one of the big takeaways was engaging in different communities that, you don't necessarily talk to all the time, but sort of trying to find where you can help.
Yeah.
And, so I very much was grateful to meet Pastor Andre Gray, who, helped with my campaign a lot. And it opened up sort of a lot of doors that previously weren't, available. And I really, having spoken to him directly after the campaign, obviously we didn't get the result that we wanted. Mm-hmm. We still can persevere and, collect ourselves and, begin anew tomorrow. It's always that idea of beginning anew and growing as a community. It was kind of a weird election in a lot of ways. There were some sort of, a lot of different things that kind of happened that kind of made you scratch your head. But I think that, as a group, we can pick up the pieces and move on, which is one thing that, again, when I talked to Pastor Andre Gray, that was one thing that I was really trying to look forward to, is this idea that I'm still a young guy. I mean, I got into this kind of, I'm 30 years old and I ain't going anywhere. DC's home for me. So,
that's right.
I was saying kind of in jest, but I was saying, hey, I could run 5 more times and still be the youngest guy, and learn each time, and really gauge kind of what the issues are, because you're absolutely right. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Doing the door knocking and talking to residents across all 8 wards in the city, no matter which way you skin the cat, people are disenfranchised. People aren't feeling the love that the council should be giving them. It's very much we're going to do our thing over there and you guys are just on your own over here. And that's something that I'm trying to build the bridges to make sure that doesn't happen, and to make DC a more prosperous place for everybody, because as the nation's capital, and I'm sure you agree, we should be the most outstanding across the nation, and we have no excuse not to be. And to say otherwise, I think is problematic, and I'm not for that. So I think it especially working kind of across the aisle and bringing forth all voices has been something that has been very special to me, as one, a native Washingtonian, but 2, obviously I kind of was trying to do the impossible, running as a moderate Republican, which, hey, I recognize I had an uphill battle every single step of the way, but you don't fight hate, or you don't fight hate with more hate. You fight hate with love, and that's something I'm trying to bring to the table.
Amen.
And
Amen.
so
I love that. And you keep on fighting, and you're right. You have the gift of youth. And you and I shared that conversation briefly, is that's what is so encouraging about this, is that our youth get impacted by the fact that they start to see faces and voices and messages that resonate with them, because
Mhm.
we're in jeopardy of having these elections where people run away with them or give the appearance of running away with them just because our
Yeah.
aren't engaged. And so what we've got to do is learn how to get in front of that. And so you showing up tonight gives us hope and encouragement that we have opportunity to do that, because I mean, let's face it, aren't we talking about public government here?
Yeah, right,
it's
exactly.
supposed to
Exactly.
be about the people, right? So we got to go
About the people for the people.
the people not at the table. We got to go get the people. And so, guys, you hear me talking to Mr. Giuseppe Niosi, who was the Republican at-large council member in this just past general election in the nation's capital. And I thank you, Mr. Niosi. I'm gonna come back to you because I want to get some reflections or just share some memories from the campaign, just to help keep our folks educated and empowered. Guys, it took us a few cycles for us to get here. And so I would imagine it's going to take us a few more election cycles to get everybody back into the swing of it. But the truth of the matter is, I want families and DC citizens to recognize, especially those that we were working with, if your life conditions aren't changing and you're voting for these politicians and these representatives that don't help to bring about that change, then that's what these conversations are about. And unfortunately, if we don't show up prepared when it's time, then we end up having to have these Monday morning meetings to talk about what we'll do next time. And I'm not going anywhere, as you heard Mr. Niosi say. There are leaders that are here on the ground that really do care about the outcome of our city, and we all have to figure out what that looks like together going forward. So without any further ado, I want you to know, I went into this, I had a disdain for politics. I don't like people telling me they're going to do something and not do it. But as a mental health advocate, right, and as a daughter of this city, Ward 8 specifically, you know, born and raised, you know, we have a motto: let's be about it, not just talk about it. And so what I felt like when the question came before me, well, what will we do in the primaries? She beat everybody, and now it's looking like she got to run against this comedian, which many people didn't understand where he came from or what he was about, or if that was going to be a representation for what we've been genuinely fighting for on the ground. We didn't need to see a HUD report to know that the housing was the way that it was. We didn't need to see the report to know that it existed. Right? We understood that the guns were going off too often and that we didn't have any accountability from our police. So we didn't need for Chief Conte to come out and validate that the officers taking the guns but not making the arrest. See, we just knew something was something wasn't right. You know that if you're on the ground fighting and helping these families, but what sounded ridiculous was to keep expecting families to just keep staying positive, overlooking the mental health and the traumas that they're dealing with in these environments that are not changing. They're DMing their council member, calling, not getting a return call. Government just isn't working for a certain part of this population. And people weren't making these stories up. And so when you tell them or ask them to vote or pay attention to a message from a political standpoint at a time when they've been fighting a government and programs and systems that aren't working for them, it's just a formula for disaster. And so one of the things I want you guys to know is that I came out this stronger and more empowered to create opportunities to do just what we're doing now. Because public government is supposed to be about the people. And when your voice is captured and you're afraid to speak out because you might lose your housing, or you're afraid because you're not on the popular side, well, the popular side is the side where they're doing things the way it's supposed to be done. And that's the message we've got to keep fighting in this town. If we expect our citizens to go straight and do right, we've got to have a government that's going to be straight and do right. Okay, we have to get rid of the hypocrisy, and we have to challenge the situations where we know the system isn't working. And so we're going to talk about a few things. Hello, Mr. Perry Red, and thank you for being so patient. Mr. Red is going to come forward and bring you guys a message, because there's a word that we don't use in this town called repeal. And I think with all of the headlines that we have going on and all of what we saw come out of this election, we need more empowerment, more education, more engagement, and more action. And so I want to be a proponent to help facilitate platforms just as this one, because at the end of the day, I will always be the mental health advocate. I will always be the person there to remind us of the connections to the unhealthy understandings around us that we must be accountable to if we want to move forward as a society and as a city. And as a nation's capital, yes, Mr. Nielsen, I agree with you. We should always be striving to set the standard and holding our government to do the same. Mr. Travis and Tasha, I know y'all got another engagement, and I am so honored and thankful that you guys took a moment. See, I needed to be able to uphold my greatness, and not just my greatness. Pardon me for a minute if I just show a little pride, my Black greatness, because see, we have a problem as a people with this politics. But I need you to understand that we've got to learn to come to the table and be accountable, because when we don't have a right to keep talking about what the man did or what that person did or what the other races are getting when we're not accountable ourselves. And so I got two soldiers that just galloped in on a horse and said, look at here, you need some media. We know how hard it is to raise the money, but we need to still put your best foot forward. And they came in, they met me down at the Lincoln Memorial, put their creative juices to work. And I'm telling you, nothing but the grace of God sent them to me, because not until they came, and we didn't get together until the end of October, and we voting in November. But in that short period of time, they elevated our platform and showed me what was possible. And so Travis and Tasha, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Because see, there are too many out there that have the resources, but they always want to tell you how much it costs when they see you doing a great thing, a bigger thing for our people. There have to be soldiers among us that understands that there are times when this is bigger than a price tag. It has to be. We're always fighting the uphill battles. We said we wanted change. So you guys came and you're so humble and so quiet and so modest. And I know you're typically behind the scenes, but came and jumped into that saddle and came to fight my battle. Said they messing with her sons. What? No, our queen needs some visibility. Come on forward and tell the story. I can't do it justice. Come on and talk to me, you beautiful, beautiful folks. Have my back.
And now it's open.
Man, that red man. You know, if I was a sore loser, I'd probably take down signs and break them in half, and then gently take down mine. You know, but there's no but, there's a but God. I believe, now this is just my thesis. I do believe if and when our sister, our Black queen would have got in it sooner, it'd have been over for Mayor Browser. It'd have been over for Red. It'd have been over for anybody who think they would have ran. Because not only are we dealing with a leader, like y'all hear the strength, y'all hear the impact behind her voice. I had to listen to 1,600 hours of it. Trust me, I know. And listening to her fight, her thesis, you know, it taught me something. It taught me that, you know, wow. And I labeled it mediocrity versus excellence. Although everyone wants excellence before mediocrity, we know how the world is. They're gonna favor mediocrity over excellence because they don't want excellence to outpower what they already have going on in place. You know, And they really kept her out of the limelight, honestly. I know for a fact, because I'm in the media. You know, we've even talked to the publicist. We was we was like almost charged just for 5 minutes over the phone. You know, dealing with is a top-notch publicist trying to get it on TV. That's how I know it's not always about money. A lot of people will say, "Oh, Mayor Bowser just got money," and that's not true. You know, anybody could get on TV, anybody could get a commercial. However, not everybody can have a great marketing team. I do feel like, if we would have knew I knew ahead of time. However, when you got people flaking on you and everything like that, how can you not blame somebody for saying, you know what, maybe, then you get the people to push you, nah, Rhonda, we need you to go now, and then boom, like, you know, we try so hard to give the people what they want. And I believe Rhonda would have exceeded past giving us what we want, which she'd have gave us what we needed. I'm not happy with the decision. You know, I'm definitely not. And I'm gonna continue to talk my shit, because, excuse my French, I'm just not happy. I'm not happy with the decision. And I appreciate her even allowing us to jump on the team. Hers is on news story and all that. Like, man, you know, it's not about who you know in this game. It's about what you know. It's like the vice versa. You know, we know she would have won if things would have, you know, been a little bit sooner. So I feel like, let me say all of that to say, I'm preparing for 4 more years down the line. So when she reelect, and everybody else should do the same. They should tell their brothers, tell their sisters, tell their mom, tell everybody, and educate them on the reasons why it's important to vote. Teach them what democracy is. You know, if in order to govern ourselves, we got to become a unified front for real. I learned a lot. I did plenty of campaign commercials and campaigns, but none of it on this caliber. And I do believe in Rhonda Hamilton. And I believe everybody else should. We should prepare now for 4 more years. If we want to remove something that's in place, we need to stop. Oh, I don't feel bad since didn't win. You know, because I know now she's like, all right, next, y'all, it ain't gonna be no write-in.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
I don't got much more to say. Let's just
That's right.
prepare. I think it's 4 more years she got in the chair,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's her end. That's the end of her trial. That's all I gotta say. I know it because I felt it. I seen it. I heard and listened to hours around it. I know they're hungry. And if anybody who's on this line with us and understands her, then they'll feel the same way I feel. 4 more years. Let's start preparing now.
All right. Come
I'm
on,
gonna
Jane.
just say that one thing that is definitely clear is that DC was looking for someone else. However, as I said in my emails that I sent out on behalf of Rhonda, if you only have one or a choice of 2 or 3 evils, you're going to pick an evil. Without her being on the ballot, people didn't know that she exists. What I will tell you is that even after this campaign ended, I did get messages from people saying, hey, from the videos that we put out, what happened with her? I didn't see her on the ballot. What is she going to do? Is she going to hang around? So definitely people, if they had something of quality to vote for that they were aware of, then she surely would have had more votes and probably would have took Meryl Barrows down, and she could have been on there talking about, well, I told you I was going to get 4 more years or whatever she said that night on the news. I sent Rhonda a message right then and there.
She said that.
But my
Doesn't nobody know who to vote for. They're scared.
if I had to reflect, one thing that you guys did not get to see is the dialogue and the conversations that Rhonda had over in her home grounds where she grew up. in Chesapeake. We didn't, you know, we
It's
could have
coming.
got to it,
It's
but
coming.
the words and the questions and the things that people are talking about, what they said they was unhappy with Mayor Bowser, and how they wanted someone that was going to listen to them and talk to them and knew where they came from. It was clear what they wanted. And then the other thing that I appreciated is seeing, she's a leader, but she's a shy leader. But when we had to tell her, she had to go on down there and get in her makeup, sit down there. She's like, I don't want to do this, girl. If you don't put this makeup, had the little makeup lady down. And the best part of it is at the last minute, when we were leaving on the day that she did do her makeup, I said, Rhonda, do a TikTok. She said, I can't do no TikTok. I said, girl, you want to do a TikTok? I'm like, just do this, just do that. And we walked up to a pair of strangers, and people, a pair of strangers didn't even know her, just listened to her. It was like, vote for Rhonda Hamilton. That's the kind of power that you get.
Kids and everything walking up to
Yeah,
her.
it was awesome.
They was all in front of the camera just looking at her. I'm like, yo, you got to move. You running from there?
So did y'all see her doing her dancing with the TikTok?
Got to
I
be
know that she had all that rhythm. Look, I had her going down the street with a side.
No, but for real though, like I would say, this is what I would do. Keep that page. There's nothing that they could do to stop having that page, and we're gonna build on it because information is everything. Even if the name changes, it's gonna change back to a mayoral candidate. Rhonda.
Yeah, we're making those decisions now, and I thank you guys. I wanted to make sure to get you guys in because I know you're busy with the entertainment, this is the holiday season, but you guys were so instrumental. And again, I needed to broaden the perspective.
I see you.
So people know that it took a village, and you guys, thank you for being a part of mine. I love you guys, and we're gonna talk. Miss Cornelia Hill, will you unmute? Miss Cornelia Hill is the president of the Woodbury Village Tenant Association, and she's been hanging in there, and she is a perfect representation of a DC voter, DC citizen that's willing to stand by her conviction to see her community change, to see her life change. And I from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you, sis, because you've been standing in there with us long before I even knew I would run, right? And it means everything, because one of the things that I kept getting asked is, what's gonna make you so different from the last politician that said it, right? And all I can do is be me, right? And show up. But the reality is, until we help people reconcile their feelings of being let down by the other folks that came, then, you know, we don't go forward as a community. So I just wanted to invite you to share any conversation you may have as one of, community members that we've been working in our advocacy, just in your observation of where we are as a city, just the elections as a whole. Just wanted to open it up to you, sis. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. How everybody doing? Through this, me just stepping up and being on a board and looking at politicians and needing the help that we need in this community, I promise you, I never knew. I vote every year, but every time there's a voting season, I vote. But to actually see the candidates who don't care, government don't care. We have HUD in the pictures, in the limelight about their failures, and I have an issue, and they don't care. And it's sad that it's sad, the community in which I'm living in. We have these slum lords, and literally we have you don't see the owners anymore. I'm sorry about the background. I have a little one here. You don't see the owner, but we have property managers who you call yourself property managers and just care about this property. So HUD also fund the rent. You call HUD, and HUD looking like what? I promise you, I'm underneath a subsidized living. I've been here since 97. My rent, and I'm not the only one. They took out my rent up, and trust me, it was only $40. I have $40, but you didn't give me a letter. And my research time is not till January. My rent changes in March, and you change my rent in May? No. No, you sent me a letter underneath for the false pretense that I owed you. But then you sent me another letter in September stating that I owe you. First it was I had a credit. And then the next 3 months later, I owe you. How? I got a letter off the door today with another higher amount that I'm not paying them anything. And I said this to them, take me to court. But I called her to let them know what was going on. And the lady on the phone literally act like, and she was very mild. So I couldn't even kirk out on her because I didn't want to. So I was just trying to hear her, what she was saying. But inside, I mean, literally inside as I spoke with her, and I bless God today that I'm not feeling like that. But as I was dealing with this issue and I'm still dealing with it, my insides was crying, tears coming down my eyes because y'all, okay, I'm just gonna be honest. I tell my story. I don't care. I was a drug user. I wasn't no punk out there. You must be out your mind if you think that you're gonna come. And this is what you're doing to people. This is subsidized. It's called rent control. We go through certifications yearly. How you change my rent and I didn't give you any extra income? That's the kind of stuff. And her saying, well, they could do it. How?
Come on, baby. And you know what? I thank you for your bravery. If we could get citizens across this city to come forward and just do what you do and speak, then the reality of what we keep getting would change. But sister, I promise you, as long as there's breath in my lungs, we're going to do this and we're going to keep it on Front Street. It was long before that HUD report came out. We knew what they're dealing with. And they don't respond until they're forced to respond. And that's why as a community, we got to talk and become educated, because I got a lot of sideline professors, but you don't know if you ain't out there in the trenches. And that's why it surprised me to see our Ward 8 leadership embrace a candidate that ain't been in the trenches with the families that they supposedly represent. So we're going to talk about that, because guys, if we don't have these common sense, in your face kind of conversations to talk about the real issues, nothing will change, and we will just go through the format of the process. So I thank you, Ms. Hill, for representing real always. Hey, Miss Arlene John, you know, Ms. Hill, you know I'm back at it, always an advocate. So we're going to be back on those letters, back on the telephones, and back holding them accountable. I need people to know that not every candidate is just looking for some type of glory. I'm going to do this work regardless. I intended to elevate so that we can get a different type of leadership downtown, and we will. Hey, come on forward. That is Minister Enoch, I see. Hi, Minister Enoch. How's it going? And welcome to the call. And hello. Thank you so much for you and your beautiful family. I see your wife on as well. So Yasmin, you should unmute as well. You guys are a unit. You are so beautiful. Your family's memory up there off of Michigan, supporting a sister long before we knew we were going to be a write-in, but your unwavering support and what you guys represent for our families in the city. Come forward and share some reflection. Thank you both from the bottom of my heart for representing real.
Thank you. No, we just want to thank you, know what I mean, for being a part of it. You know what I mean? Bishop Andre Gray, just, you know, introducing us and, you know, putting a connection together that's got a real connection, because, you know, we're all doing God's work, you know what I mean? And we all care about our people. And, you know, just seeing so many people in positions who really don't understand and don't have that empathy, don't have that compassion, would never hold a conversation with anyone, but they'll take the people's dollars. And, you know, and to me, you know, like when you talk about people going through a process continuously without no understanding, that's truly the definition of insanity. You know what I mean? Doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result, you know? And so some people go in the polls and they have no type of understanding about who they're voting for. They go in there and sometimes some of them are just picking the names because the names sound good, but know nothing about the person that they're voting for. And so some of these are contributing factors to why we face some of the things that we face with inside the said community. You know, even with being in the church, we hear the same thing from some of our members. Their rent rates going up, without no type of notification. The same thing that the young lady was talking about, no type of notification. And so these are issues that we're going to still have to battle. But like you say, by the time the next elections come around, some of us are going to have to step into some of these ward positions and stuff of that nature, because we're the ones inside of the community. And so we need to make it known that we're a team, you know what I mean? And we're not just here to be citizens. We're here to make our place a better place to live. Last week, my wife came through the door and 10 shots was fired towards my house, and so these are the things that need to be heard, need to be talked about, because, luckily my 4 children wasn't around, but it was over 10 shots fired towards my home. And so these are the things that we need to address inside of our communities. And so it's not just about a Minister Enoch or Pastor Gray, it's about our people. And so we all need to rise up to the occasion and do our part to make sure that our people are educated and that they understand these type of processes.
Amen. And Queen, and hello to my beautiful. Hi, Enoch, how are you guys? Will you come forward, Queen? And I know you have a message. How are you, my beautiful?
Yes, greetings, peace and love. So honored to be here. And I thank you for your service. I loved, just from day one, your sincerity. I just noticed that immediately, the authenticity. So that's what had us gravitate. And we're here ready, willing, and able to do the work. There's such a great need. And what resonated with me the most throughout just this whole process is the need for education. You touched on it and I appreciate it. We're here to help facilitate it. But I just mentioned to someone the other day that, we have to start to organize now. So I'm, just grateful we're all on the same page. Spirit of one accord is beautiful. And I just thank you. And it's a pleasure and an honor.
Beautiful. Thank you all. And again, I needed our social media fan base out there to know that we are all, I have gotten so many wonderful messages from social media. And social media, I needed you to see the base of folk that are in position, in place. We're all saying the same things. And so what we've got to do is we've got to be able to organize so that we can mobilize in the right direction. What I intend to do is to make sure, and I'll drop this on us a little bit later, I want to get to some more folks, but we're going to make sure that we go forward understanding that we find answers for these families. If the mayor says that she was embarrassed by the reportings and the understandings, we're going to help her not to be so embarrassed. We're going to help her to be proactive, because we're going to put these issues right in front of her daily and make sure that she responds now that we know that she gets embarrassed when she hears these kinds of things. So we're going to help her out. Miss Arlene Jones, will you unmute and come forward? Thank you so much. When I talk about my soldiers in the background getting the word out and what do you need done and just ready for whatever, I think about my beautiful Arlene. Thanks, Arlene. You and Stacy on this phone somewhere. I'm going to get her to unmute soon. How's it going, Queen? And thank you so much.
Thank you. It has been such a pleasure just getting out and putting the word out, even on election day, to hear the people and understand what they needed, and they were happy to write you in. However, because you were not on the ballot, some of them would come back and say, I could remember her first name, but I couldn't remember the last name. They made me throw my paper in the trash, so I didn't have anything to help me out. But I am ready, willing, and able to do whatever is needed, because I know our community, our seniors need help. My mother had been a resident of DC for so many years, and when she started failing in health, I couldn't get any support or help from anybody in DC. They finally reached back out to me the day after she passed to give me some help. So I need to be out there doing whatever I can do in order to get people the help that they need. I'm a licensed real estate agent in DC, so I see a lot of this stuff going on with the housing situation. And I'm ready.
Amen. And we're going to put that to test. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you are just a perfect example of someone being about it. You just needed to know, what does Rhonda need? And I need you to know in this moment that just is so overwhelming. So when I'm out there and folks that don't know me, they need to know how convicted the people that do know me are. So I thank you for being a part of my village, Queen. God bless you. Hey, Mr.
Love you.
Andre, come on and unmute. How are you, soldier? I see you out there. Thanks for stopping by the platform. Unmute and come on in. Mr. Andre Keith, my campaign manager. Come on, Andre, unmute. I can't hear you. Unmute. I'm telling you, I guess he plenty of nights. He probably say, where's this girl taking me? What in the world is going on? I'm coming to pick him up on the way to an
All right.
and they
Thank you,
shoot
thank you, thank you.
Hey, Andre, come on in. Campaign reflections. Thank you for everything, soldier.
Hey, folks, I'm listening to you. Everybody that's speaking, I am so just totally elated that we have this kind of energy even now. You know, we have to maintain that kind of energy. And I'm telling you this, I want to tell the group, I'm outside now, I'm headed somewhere walking, but I'm working on something. You know, everybody's talking about this public housing situation, but we got the same kinds of problems, and probably even more on the private side with these private landlords. So I'm working on getting this attorney general to look on the other side of the fence, because we cannot let these private landlords go untapped, untouched, and not held accountable at all. And that's what's happening. And luckily on election day, I saw Schwab campaigning around. So I put the bug in his ear. He told me if I got a case, come see him when he get there. But I can't wait till he get there. We got Racine in there, and he's supposed to be doing the job. He needs to get it started, and Schwab pick it up when he gets there.
Hey,
So-
I hear you. I hear you. Look, you
So
sound like you talk about a title fight. I hear you out there like you talk about Rocky and Joe Frazier. I just love your commitment, Mr. Keith. And
Well,
yes, you're right. We have to hold them accountable to what we know is the case. It's not just public housing. That's just the only thing they stung her with. But it's up to us. It's up to us to bring these reports and things forward and make actions happen. So we're definitely going to do that. Do you have any reflections from the campaign trail as I move forward and get someone else's comments?
Well, I just want to thank everybody who put their hearts, their souls, and everything that they had into this campaign. It shows the passion that everybody had, and you know, I just appreciate that, and I'm just hoping that we maintain that and build on what we have right now, because we can win. We can win. And if we stick together and put our message out there, we can win. And that's all that I want to say. I just want to keep that in everybody's head, that we really can win. And with the commitment that I'm listening to, I think we got a good start. All we have to do is work on expanding.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Hey, Miss Dorothy Blakeney, thank you so much for stopping by the platform. How's it going, Queen? Will you unmute and just share any memory that you'd like for us to have? Dorothy? I know sometimes it's hard to figure out the unmute part. Hi, I see you. We've accomplished seeing you. Now, can you figure out your unmute? Let me see if I can help you. I just sent you a request to unmute.
It's unmute.
There you go. How's it going, Queen? And thank you so much for jumping on those telephones for your sis, for your girl.
Yes, of course. We're 100% supported, you know, even going forward from here. But whatever there is, you know, just keep us posted and let us know. We're ready to go.
Hey, Doc, will you help me out? Because you know how we are as a people collectively, many of us, not your generation, of course, but many of us, we don't like to vote. We don't like no politics. We sick of it. What kinds of things will you run into on the phone, real talk?
Well, actually, just mainly what has been said already. People just not getting out there and to do it. They are just actually nonchalant about it, just really not being that serious, that interested, and just getting to the polls. You know, as the pastor say, take your souls to the polls. And for the bulk of what I actually have, it's like, yeah, okay, well, fine. I think it's a matter of just not really doing it. And for the most part of you know, the class of people of what I had reached out to, just not, oh yeah, really?
Not
And
motivated.
just accepting, you know, the situation as it is, and the what already is already is, and not believing that they can make a difference, or just not believing that a difference can be made. They just accept it as it is, griping and grumbling among themselves.
That's a very good point. Well, Queen, I thank you for the bottom of my heart for making and taking the time. I just need people to see the type of beautiful talent and committed folks that I had around me. And I thank you for being a part of my village always. God bless you.
Sure, it's a pleasure. Thank you so very much, and just keep on keeping on.
Thanks so much. Hey, Sister Davina down in Atlanta, Georgia, down there representing, coming out of Eastern High School in Washington, D.C., spreading the word because her girl was running. Unmute D and tell me about what your reflections are and what it looked like from your lens down there in Georgia. Miss Davina Williams, how's it going?
Pretty good.
There she is.
Talking because of the hot mess we have in Georgia. Okay. Stacey Abrams, I'm just between you and her, I just was all over the place. And I am so proud of everything that you have accomplished thus far. Just like I said in my text to you, you started, you can't stop, and everything that you have touched, as long as I've known you, 30 more years, it has turned to gold, and you have put the same tenacity that you put forward in running for mayor in every single thing that you have accomplished and touched in your life. I am so very proud. I did as much as I possibly could in Georgia. Even when I came for my 30-something class reunion, I tried to catch you.
Sure did. Sure
and
did.
So I could come out and spread the word as well. I am, like I said, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of the work that everyone, your whole village has done for you, and working with you and moving forward. I am so proud to say I am DC.
Hey,
and people like, I am DC. I love that. I love that. Well, please tell your family. I don't know who's in your family still staying DC, but let them know. Let them know. That's my girl. Right. Please write her in.
That's right.
So I definitely spread the word as much as I can, and I'm going to be DC for the rest of my life.
Hey, come on, tell them about it.
I am so proud of you, and I want you to continue to run, and I'm going to continue to support, and I'm going to continue to push, and I'm going to tell everybody until they get sick of me. Like I said, keep doing what you're doing, and I want to thank your entire village for definitely supporting and keeping you for. And I've been watching the DC politics. You know how we do.
Always.
I watch so much C-SPAN. I'm writing stuff down, taking notes. But the changes that DC need is gonna come.
Yes.
Definitely. It's gonna come from someone who knows DC. I am DC. So proud.
Thank you for that, Queen. Appreciate you. Hey, Mr. Michael McGee, let's keep this going. I got you and Thomas, and then we can keep this train moving. Thank you all for being so patient. I just figured you were patient enough to hear my voice over the last 3-4 months. You were so dedicated and committed to follow my messaging and sharing my posts. I thank you for your patience tonight. We had to do this special edition of the Palms Up Show because I had to figure out a way to send this thank you far and wide so you guys would know the level of folk that came to the table to help support me. Mr. Michael McGee, Bowie State Alumni President, come on forward and talk to us about your reflections about your dear colleague running for mayor and what that represented for you and the road forward and just, you know, where you are with it.
So just want to say congratulations on just being out there and putting yourself out there. It's very difficult to do, to get yourself put out there in front and then put in front of the public and have the public to just, you know, go over who you are. So just want to say you are a wonderful lady. You are a wonderful person all the way around. And I am here with you to make sure that we move forward. A couple of things I was listening to everybody on the call. There are a couple of things that we really do have to look into is how we market ourselves. I think that's very important, getting that marketing out there early. I'm glad that you're having this call now because you're going to keep people motivated throughout the year and throughout the next 4 years about what's going on. Another thing that we have to look at is the mental health of the people. That's where I come in at, is looking at how we can get out here and work with the people on the trauma that they are seeing every single day. I think it's so important. And we got to speak to the young people as well. Being able to get the young people into fold. I think your name should be able to resonate with everyone, not just people in Ward 7 and Ward 8.
That's
but
right.
we really need to look at all the other wards as well. Because the more that you are marketing yourself in those wards, as well as Ward 7 and Ward 8, then your name, no one would be able to go to the ballot and say they don't know your last name.
That's right.
Okay, that's a mark. That is all about marketing right there. You feel where I'm coming from? So
Right.
we are definitely here with you. My team is ready to roll as well. I'm ready to roll as well. I got some exciting news that we will talk about tomorrow as well. But as I looked over the numbers, when I looked at I did a little research last night about what some of the things that DC is going through. Getting the people jobs, especially training in this new green initiative that's going on. Things of that nature, we need to take those things and speak about those things.
Absolutely.
How do those things facilitate their mental health?
Absolutely.
Because, you know what I'm saying? So these are all the little things that we would have to look into. I'm there with you. I'm going to get the research done. So I'm there with you. Okay. So congratulations on stepping out there and then letting people scrutinize who you are. They can't do much. You know what I'm saying? They can't do much.
Amen. Amen.
You know what I mean?
Not with this strong face.
I take my hat off to you. Congratulations for just stepping out there.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Mike. I appreciate you. And I thank you for staying in pocket and being ready to carry it forward. As you guys heard him say, we got work to do. There's a lot going on and there's a lot of conversation around the economic divide. There's a lot of conversation about the failure of our educational system. There is conversation about our seniors being priced out. Guys, many of the things that you heard me talk about over the past few months are still issues that we face as a city today. And we want to make certain that we go forward intentionally. So I needed you guys to understand, as you heard my dear leader just say, Michael McGee, there's no reason for anybody not to remember my last name if we properly put this before them. And so I need you to know that my motto prior to going into this election was that I just show up to get the work done. I got leaders. I've been fortunate to work with folks like Overseer Ann Coles, Bishop Gray, Mr. Thomas Carpenter, who's the next leader I'm going to ask to unmute, and many of my other leaders who we just show up to do the work. And I've been fortunate to be able to have those type of professionals in my peers, as my peers and as my colleagues. And so going into the election just elevated my level of education about needing to be visible about the work. And so I'm excited because as I heard Andre Keith, my campaign manager, say, we can win. We've already won. Government of the people, by the people, is always supposed to be for the people, and our platform represents the people. And so we've already won because we've already engaged so many folks that would not have otherwise been engaged. They told us. I had my brothers on the corner, shout out to my brothers on the corner, telling me, Ms. Rhonda, I don't use my government name, but for you, I'm gonna go use my government name and vote. Many of them did follow up with me on social media to send me a copy of their ballots to show that they wrote my name in. So I'm telling you that we are winners, and that's why I wanted to do this. And I am DC and Bishop Gray, thanks for staying patient because I'm coming back your way. Hey, Mr. Thomas Carpenter, will you unmute quickly so we can wrap up this round of introductions and reflections and talk to us? Mr. Thomas Carpenter is the campaign campaign treasurer. And I tell you, when you go to a colleague and say, hey, I'm gonna run for mayor, will you be the treasurer? You know, that colleague gotta really trust your intentions, trust that you're gonna do what you say you're gonna do, because he don't have to put his tail on the line. And hey, Mr. Thomas, coming from the bottom of my heart, you are a soldier like that. How you doing? You got any reflections for us from behind
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. I got to echo something that our previous speaker just said. Congratulations on completing phase 1 of this movement. The first step is the most important step, and that has been completed. Now we just got to put the other foot in front of it and just march forward. Okay. You are definitely the right person to carry out that message. I've said that from day one. So I'm just excited about what you can accomplish with a 4-year ramp in front of you. So ready to put the work in.
I appreciate you, Thomas. Hey guys, I appreciate you all. And I thank you for being patient as we got through those introductions. It was so important for me to give everybody an opportunity to speak. Hey, IMDC. Hey, Bishop Gray. Hey, I'm so excited and so forever indebted to you all. You guys brought the flavor, you brought the sauce, you brought the juice, right? So I hit the streets and, we had to figure out how to introduce me to the public. DC is so tough. They so rough, and they don't care if you're a homegirl or not. But IMDC, they brought everybody out. The old men came running, Bishop Gray, they wanted their picture taken. My soldiers wanted their picture taken. And it was so funny to see people trying to figure out if they wanted their picture taken with a candidate's character, because then that might mean that you supporting the candidate. Hey, IMDC, first and foremost, before I ask Bishop Gray to speak on IMDC and just all of our interactions, we had the ability to be able to do the Fort DuPont Park with EU over there. We did Southwest Day. We did H Street. We did River Terrace Day. And IMDC is so cool. The response that he got, you would think it would just be from the children. But we talking same-sex couples. We talking, the children. We talking about the old heads, the youth, the knuckleheads. Everybody resonated with IMDC. And that made me so proud, because we were such a negative bunch when we were talking about going out into this politic town, this town that doesn't care about it, this town that's sick of the current situation. It was just something, and IMDC just made that all better. It's just right away, we had a common goal, and that was, look, I'm from DC. I don't know about you, but I'm always gonna have pride about being from DC. And so I just thank you guys, because you guys helped us hit it out the park. Bishop Gray, where you at with the IMDC and your reflections?
Hey, we're so excited to have been a part of your campaign, and the whole run was just exciting. You introduced IMDC during your campaign, and IMDC became DC all over again. Everywhere we went, no matter where we were, he was getting the love from everybody. We had to block off so many things. They was getting in there trying to get pictures. I mean, you talk about reflections. I can remember several candidates, who was trying to hurry up. They wanted to take a picture, but they were scared of the connections and things. So it was just all over the place. Conti too.
I was gonna say, what about Chief Conti? How did you get Chief Conti to take a picture?
Yeah, the honest truth is, I grew up with Conti Rob. I watched him go in as a cadet at 17 years old at Spingarn Senior High School. I know y'all Easton's up there, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So at the Green Wave School, we had an opportunity to grow together, and Rob really wanted to, take that picture, especially connecting. But politics said he couldn't do a lot of things, and so we understood that as well. But IMDC was just so all over the place that you couldn't escape him. You even gonna take that picture with him because he's getting up in your stuff. He was right there to, say hello to everybody. He was excited about it. We had so many young guys that were surrounding us as well, that just kept him motivated. You know, I Am DC got his own chauffeur. He got his own bag carriers. Yeah.
I'm glad you touched on that. Two things. Bottom of my heart, the fellas, guys, Bishop Gray and his Agape Men ministry, they engulfed the Rhonda Hamilton candidacy and just lifted us up and just took it on their shoulders and said, look here, we're going out here and let them know. What they say, come grow and glow with Miss Rhonda Drake. My baby's up and they're getting signatures.
They say, go, grow, and glow with Rhonda Hamilton for mayor.
I'm telling you.
That came from an 18-year-old kid that dropped out of school, had no hopes, no desires. And when he got connected to this campaign and the love that Rhonda shared with him through words, through inspiration, through just sharing with him the goals that she had for a young generation, that young man have now come off an ankle bracelet, have went back to school, who's at Easton High School. I hated to admit that, but okay. He went to Easton, and he's finishing up where some thought was going to be a dropout year for him. You know, based on his arrest, he remotivated by just being part of this. He dubbed the statement "Go, Grow, and Glow with Rhonda Hamilton for mayor." And there we are, man. Rhonda, you did a great job of inspiring these young men and giving them something to think twice about, to look forward to. And they still have that hope. You know, like many have already said that this is step one. You know, I say it in joking, but I say it in real. I was a track star. So I did a lot of running track in school. And then when I came out of school, I had to run too, right? Because I don't do no fighting, I run. Don't tell nobody. But listen, so the end of the track, they say, get down, get set, go. You know, we got down, y'all. We got down. We got down in this first phase. And that's what it is, Rhonda, is the first phase. You know, we introduced you to a city on a larger platform, putting your name out there, getting you out there. And as the producers and so Mike McGee and others have said, Keith, as well as Pastor Coles have said, you know, we're just getting started. It's going to take these next couple of years, months and weeks, all of it together to get ready for the next election. And we're going to do that because we'll do better together. Y'all come, go, and grow and glow with Rhonda Hamilton for mayor. Say hi to I Am DC. And you will be seeing them around.
Thank you so much. And you know, Dre, I agree with you all. I think that we do have to keep it moving and keep it moving forward. We're going to look at giving IMDC its own website because there's something I want to implement. And Mr. Neosi, if you will unmute, I want to talk to you a little bit. And then, Ann, I'm going to come back and pick you up as well. But I want to talk about the road forward in the few minutes that we have left. The mayor is touting, I guess their latest marketing is DC's comeback. Right. So to me, that's an acknowledgement that DC is down and we've got some coming back from. And I'm so sorry that Mr. Perry Red wasn't able to stay on the line. I wanted him to speak a little bit. Perry Red is an advocate, a co-advocate of mine on the ground. He does his workers' rights through his Sincere 7 organization, but many of you know him on our platform, on our Palms Up platform, for his socially speaking commentary. And one of the things that Perry has been very active at doing is working with Jaleese George up in Ward 4 with the Karan Hilton case. We stood out there as they tore that police station down in Ward 4. Not that that's the way things should go to get attention or accountability, but I remember standing out there till 4 a.m. with Karan's parents trying to get Officer Sutton and the lieutenant and them held accountable, trying to get the mayor just to come out and acknowledge, who was a new mother at the time, to acknowledge another mother's plight and reality that, you know, we are a city with things that are going wrong and the humanity is missing. And so I say that and bring that up because now we do have, Perry Red stayed on the brothers on the corner over at Kennedy, and he stayed on Jaleese George in the councilman's office to bring the U.S. attorneys forward to bring charges. And so now Officer Sutton, the case is before the district court or before DC court now. Karan Hilton was the young man whose life was lost. And now we finally heard commentary from the lieutenant who, and the people, all the officers who were in the car with Officer Sutton, who's now painting a different picture. And I point that out for members on the call like Ms. Hill and many of our other DC citizens who get discouraged when you don't get that accountability or get that justification or validation right away. Let's be clear. These elections have validated for us that we are a city in trouble, and the gray areas or the areas that need addressing, they're not always willing to come forward and acknowledge that this is a problem. And that's why we need your voices. Sometimes it's just about staying on them. So we have a lot of work to do moving forward. Mr. Niosi, I asked you to unmute because I wanted to talk to you about this DC comeback and as it relates to your constituents, because I know that as often as happens, our local politics get overshadowed by the national picture that's getting ready to hit our town. These midterms were considered to be favorable for our Republicans. And so if we're educating DC citizens, we got to have these conversations, no doubt?
No doubt.
So talk to
No
me
doubt at
about
all.
the local, national, and where your camp is with this whole DC comeback, and how do we go forward having lost?
Well, to be honest with you, and I was trying to make this kind of a clear point, throughout my campaign, but I think that there is a difference between what is a local Republican versus what is a national Republican, and frankly, there are a lot of things that I take a lot of slack for, but I recognize in my own party nationally, they don't necessarily adhere to what is commonplace in Washington, D.C., and that's where, when I said I was a Washington, D.C. Republican, a lot of people that I was speaking to remember fondly the era of Carol Schwartz, for example. That was when I was coming up. And so, that was the sort of persona that I was trying to invoke. That being the case, part of my campaign was talking exactly about this idea that DC does need to come back. And I was primarily focused on, I live kind of right downtown, which has been decimated due to COVID. A lot of businesses have shuttered and left. One of the big kind of rallying cries across, the entire city was, hey, the crime wave is not going down. And so we want to do something about that. And I was a big proponent of economic development. And so, it's easy to say these things. And this is something that kind of frustrates me about our politicians. And what I was trying to bring forth as a different kind of flavor was, there's a lot of talk. It's a lot of feel-good talk and not a lot of action, not a lot of doing. I'd rather see Mayor Bowser, down on the streets cleaning up herself than saying I'm going to talk about it. And I think that we have lost the kind of cause of action speaking louder than words. And that is where you want to be the example. I guess we all kind of maybe had played sports at one point, and there's always that kind of silent leader on the sports team that they might not be the captain, but everyone kind of looks to them as setting an example because they're doing what they have to do. And that was sort of what I'm trying to instill in my own sort of party in Washington, D.C. And so, from a national stage, I would say it's disappointing to me that some of the issues that the Republican Party nationally are focused on are not, it's almost as if they're focused on the tit for tat sort of, I'm going to go against Biden because he went against us, as opposed to saying, okay, well, now we have some power. Let's actually help people. Exactly. And so, to be honest with you, and I probably get crucified on my own party, but I have to say, a lot of it's disturbing to me as a Republican in its own right. I don't necessarily, I'm not lock and step with sort of what they're doing. I'd rather, when you choose to be a leader, an elected leader, someone that governs people, that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of time, that's a lot of dedication. But what does it mean if nothing but actually doing the job, as opposed to having a rallying cry just to be nasty against the other side. So I want to bring a little bit more harmony across the aisle, because to me, my cousin once told me this little idiom that I really enjoyed was, the bird doesn't fly if only one wing is flapping.
Amen. Amen. I like
so,
that.
you need kind of two sides of the coin to really get things done. And so that's kind of where I'm trying to be an example, not only in DC, but be an example even in my own party. And so that's something that, listen, I recognize it's a very difficult thing, but, showing up to Zoom meetings like this, I think starts, maybe it's not paved the way fully, but starts the stepping stones to get there. And that's, kind of what I want to, like the whole conversation tonight has been, we have 4 years to develop. We have 4 years to figure it out. We have 4 years. Well, 4 years, it starts right now, right? It doesn't start tomorrow. It always starts when you can, the soonest. And so, that's kind of my perspective on that.
Well, I thank you for your perspective. I thank you for your bravery and your courage. You're speaking on a lot of what a lot of people feel. And a lot of times they don't feel like we've created these platforms to do so. One of the things that the campaigning has taught me is that we're more alike than we are different.
I agree.
Wants to live under these headlines, right? Nobody wants this crime, and everybody takes a step back first when they see a politician before they step forward, because they just want to understand what you're talking about, because it just gets to a point where it's about people, guys. And I want you to know something, that we all have a responsibility to do something. And I thank you. Listening, Mr. Giuseppe Niosi was the Republican candidate for the at-large, and we had at least 8 members that ran at large, and I'm sure that I extended an invitation to most. It's important that we hear from our leaders, because none of the leadership changed. So it's important to understand we're all talking to the same audiences per se, because we all have the same amount of DC citizens that operate daily. Now, we're either going to make this about politics or about people, because we have a national conversation coming this way, and we still have housing, homeless, jobs, small businesses, seniors. We still are a city that have a lot to take care of. And so I thank you, Niosi, for being the leader that you are and showing up, not knowing what to expect. And we in the communities east of the river, we've got to start showing up west of the river and understanding what that conversation is about. See, DC needs to come back together and be one city. When we are divided, then somebody's losing. And in order for our children to win, we've got to be able to change our strategies. Government won't take care of everything, nor should they. So what role are we going to play? And if we're calling ourselves leaders, what are we doing in front of you before election, right? And when we have conglomerates of leaders and religious folks that come together and decide that they're going to throw their support and their power behind one particular candidate or a couple of candidates, then we need to hold them accountable, because they are bringing with them communities of people who have issues and concerns that are not rightfully being represented. Pastor Coles, yes, I got a call on you. What are we going to do to hold our clergy accountable moving forward in our election climates? Because they seem to touch the larger populations.
Well, a lot of them scared to come out the walls and get involved with the community. That is a very big issue that I see. A lot of them say that they don't want to get into politics. But if you really study our political system, our Constitution was based on biblical principles. And I'm just a little disappointed. I volunteered on a larger campaign a couple of years ago where somebody was running as a senator. And I watched the clergy. They came out for the breakfasts. They came out for photo shoots. But when it came down to getting people to the polls, I was very disappointed at the backstabbing and the commitment that they made and didn't do it. And I kind of saw it in this campaign too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer, if you don't have nothing nice to say, then shut your mouth up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As clergy, we are very powerful. Very powerful. My question is, how do you use that power though?
Amen.
We need to educate our congregation on some issues. I was very amazed that a lot of people thought that the voting was over
Yeah.
in June.
Yeah.
That was the final.
Yeah.
Right there. I was amazed at the dirtiness that took place during this campaign. And this was just a local campaign.
Mm-hmm.
This was far dirtier than when I worked with the Senate campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just me personally. One of the candidates, I would have never voted for him. If you're doing this dirty stuff to try to get in, if you got in, what would you do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame, but this country was built on materialism. If we're gonna keep it real, so I'm gonna keep it 100. So it's all about the money instead of the people.
I'm glad you said that. That's a great segue, and thank you. And guys, we're going to wrap up and get out of here, but I thank you. It's these types of awareness and woke conversations that we have to continue to have before our communities in order to engage them, to help them to understand that there is a different message out there. There is a different voice. And the reason why I thought it was so important to do this is because we're going into a holiday season, and before we blink, it'll be the first of the year. We will still have a slew of issues before us. And as the city's new marketing is DC's comeback, what are you doing to position yourself so that your voice is a part of that? Because we can never be here again. I need you to understand that they're already designing and lining up. If we're preparing for what we're going to do for the next 4 years, then so are they. There are certain names being thrown around as though they already have an idea as who that would be or who that person might be. It is important that you understand that the next set of local elections before us will be the Ward 7 and the Ward 8. Well, if you're living in Ward 7, many of my Ward 7 citizens were complaining about their lack of hospital and grocery store. Now you got the one, but the reality is that there are many Ward 7 voters that are not happy about what's going on, and they just won't vote. Understand that not voting is the same as voting the same leadership back into office. And so we've got to figure a way how to engage all of our residents, how to engage all of their voices, and how to put into action accountable and transparent responses from the government and from other resources that will help move our citizens forward. So I'm going to propose that as one of the leadership agencies on the community level, that we're going to create a community report card. And what I'd like to do is, many of my leaders on the call today, I'm going to task you with helping us to build relationships in all 8 wards with leaders just as ourselves that are on the ground, in touch with families, that are catching these calls, doing the intakes, so that we can govern the true need per ward and turn that into active communications with the mayor's office and with the Office of Attorney General's office. What we've got to do is recognize that in a capitalist society, you have to go after the capital. So we're not going to wait until the election to reveal reports of people living as they are, when we know that that's been the case the entire time. So what we're going to do is help this government become more accountable and transparent, so that perhaps by the time the elections come, we can just pull out the receipts from the report cards. Because from a mental health standpoint, east of the river, without even blinking, this government gets an F. And it's my intentions to keep engaging the mayor's office to find out ways that they can improve their rating from the community's standpoint. It is my position, and it remains my position, that this current mayor has grown out of touch with the matters of community, and that's why we would see so much failing at the same time. So as a community leader, we will be implementing a community report card, and we will be making active efforts to engage all of these leaders from the various wards to get the input for communication that needs to land itself on the mayor's desk monthly. We need to help her help our citizens. Amen. All right. Well, guys, I want you to know something. Palms up to everybody. As I get back in the saddle, I get a little rusty, but Palms Up was our show to help members of the community understand that we don't have to wait for News 4 to show up to talk about the issues that are affecting and impacting our people. And now that I'm fresh off of a campaign run with all of your momentums, I want to hear from you, social media. I want us to use our powers for good. You heard them say we got to build a base. You heard them say that I didn't get in front of enough people in enough time. You heard them say that I got to get on that ballot, and I'm going to task my beautiful social media family with helping me to do so. So let's talk it up out there. I want to give special honors to folks like Dr. Afeni, Mrs. Afeni, Dr. Newsom, Carlinia Springer, Mr. Lamont Walker out there. Love you. Miss Nikki Goins out there. Love you. There are so many of you guys that I just really appreciate, but I wanted to give some special shout outs. Miss Charlene Wilson all the way in Chicago. All of my folk, Nikki is up in Jersey, posting me in her stories. Folks that just understood and heeded the call. I want you to know that I humbly accept and receive all of your beautiful well wishes and congratulatories, but I am a humble woman because I know that I did this on the backs and on the shoulders of all of you all. You cared, and that's what made the difference. And so with that lovely level of support and commitment, we're going forward. We're going to implement the community report card. We're going to talk about updates through the Palms Up platform. We're going to extend invitations to stakeholders around the community because there are a lot of sideline professors. And I'm going to reach out to my dear friend, Mr. Daryl Carter, and ask him to help me with that. There are a lot of folks that got a lot of opinions about what's going on in DC local politics, but when it's time to show up and help push the momentum or help really bring about change, we're still stuck in yesterday's shadows. And we're going to have to do something about that as the leaders of today. So palms up. I'm going to lead the charge. I thank all of you all because they said that we don't do politics. I thank you, Mr. Niosi, because they said that we don't understand about reaching across the aisle. And we already represent what DC needs moving forward. So I thank all of you guys. It has been my humble pleasure to run and to receive all of your well wishes. We got plenty of work to do. I am not a loser because I've gained all of your wonderful support and commitment. It is with that that I will carry forward. We still do the intakes for mental health challenges and trauma inductions in the community. HealthyDCandme.org is the website. HealthyDCandme.org. You can click on to do an intake if you need assistance from us. We still have wonderful leaders that are really willing and ready to serve. So we're going to implement our social justice arm so that we can begin to bring before you education weekly through the Palms Up platform so that come next election, we are all moving in the right direction about changing this leadership. Meanwhile, we're not going to let the current leadership off the hook. There's a word that I'm going to leave you with. And when we come back together on the Palms Up platform after the holidays, we're going to talk more about it. That word is called repeal. You see, if they're not going to do their job in a public office setting, then we've got to get strong enough to help them understand that we're educated enough to move them forward sooner. Repeal is the word. And that is when we do not wait the full term to remove them when they are not performing. So as leaders, we're going to carry forward in a responsible manner, and we're going to start holding government accountable, but we also must hold ourselves accountable. Who's going to care about our children more than us? Who's going to care about our block more than us? Who's going to care about your business, your small business owners in your community more than you should be? I'm on that Neighborhood Serve app. That's one of the things that I graduated to. I didn't know anything about it, I'm ashamed to say. But now that I'm on there and I'm seeing the kinds of things that people are posting, we are citizens living in siege, and that must end. And the way that we end is we come together, we hold the elected powers accountable. I'm going to send an introductory letter to the Office of Attorney General, and I'm going to send a congratulatory letter to the mayor of this city to help them to understand that from the community's perspective, we'll be watching and holding them accountable and grading them. An F is not acceptable, and we will fight with the media every step of the way until they clean their acts up. Together we go forward. I thank you all. I am still DC. Are you DC out there? Palms up, everybody. God bless you. Have a beautiful holiday. Happy Thanksgiving. Eat a lot of turkey. Come back ready to work. HealthyDCandme.org. The mayor platform is still up, and we're going to keep in touch. Let's share the post. Let's build together. We're one family. I am DC. You are DC. Let's go forward and let them know what that looks like.
Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle, Bishop. Come on, blow the whistle.
Let me hear you on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I am DC. 1, 2, 3. I
am DC.
Palms up, y'all. Thank you all. God bless. Bye-bye, I am DC. Talk to you all soon. Thank you all.